Coming up next on this special edition of Arizona Horizon, it's our annual Journalists' Year in Review. Our panel of reporters will look back on what happened in 2025 and make predictions for 2026. It's the Journalists' Year-End Show, and it's next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Arizona PBS, members of your public television station.
Good evening and welcome to the special edition of Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simons. Tonight, it's our Journalists' Prediction Show. Each year, we invite 3 local journalists to review the predictions they made a year ago about big news events, and then the panel steps up and makes predictions for the upcoming year, and it should be quite a year. Joining us tonight, Howie Fisher of Capital Media Services, Jeremy Duda of Axios Phoenix, and we should mention that Jeremy's wife is employed by Arizona PBS, and making her debut, Cameron Sanchez of KJZZ Radio. All right, let's see how the journalists did last year with their predictions for 2025. Producer Mike Sauceda has the results.
The journalists started by predicting whether President Trump would carry out his promise of mass deportations.
Oh, absolutely. It was the cornerstone of his campaign.
I think he's going to, if you want to call it mass deportations, he's going to go after the criminal elements. I don't see sheriffs and National Guard and everyone else coming in the streets and going after all 11 million people who are not here legally.
I think so. I mean, this was such an important part of Trump's campaign platform. I think it won't happen on day one the way he's been saying. I mean, that obviously there's some logistical issues that need to be taken care of, but there will be mass deportation. I think not just of the criminal element. I think of kind of a wider deportation.
Let's do a bonus here with the logistics here. Will he declare national emergency and use the military in this process?
I'll say yes of the emergency, but the military just for more, in the same way that Arizona governors do for kind of the administrative stuff, saying, oh, we're deploying the National Guard, but it's not really kind of what people picture when they hear that.
And that's really crucial because I don't see having Army privates and sergeants and lieutenants knocking on people's doors. I don't see any way you use the military to actually round people up.
Yeah.
What do you think, Lori?
I think that he'll threaten it. In the end, I don't think that he will do that. I do think he will declare a national emergency. I do think that he will use the National Guard, but I don't expect to see tanks going into Maryvale, if that's what you're thinking.
Lori gets a point. Trump did carry out mass deportations in many major cities. Howie also gets half a point for guessing correct on mass deportations, but misses out on half a point for saying he would just go after the criminal element. Jeremy gets a point for a correct guess. On the bonus question, all 3 got a point there, as Trump did declare a national emergency on immigration on day 1 of his term and did use National Guard troops in immigration roundups. Our panelists were then asked if Trump would keep his promise to end the war in Ukraine.
He said he would end it before he even takes office, so I'm expecting any day now for the missiles to, stop. But gosh, I hope so. Wouldn't it be nice? He says he has a very good plan. He won't tell us what it is, so I'm going to say yes.
I think that by this time next year, we will be in a stasis situation. There'll be sort of I won't call it a ceasefire.
I think it'll probably take till 2026 to get kind of a formal end to the war, but there'll probably be very little shooting by then. Both sides are pretty exhausted.
Lori missed that one, and Howie and Jeremy both got it right. Next, our journalists were asked if Trump would slap tariffs on Mexico and Canada.
I think so. He's talked so much about it, it's kind of going to be kind of hard to walk that back without doing at least something.
What do you think, Hal? That's pretty serious stuff.
I think it will, but I don't think they'll last. I think at the moment that avocados go up to $12 a piece and tomatoes cease to be available, a lot of folks are going to say, excuse me, and then Mexico, all the stuff we send down to Mexico, not going to last.
So it'll be a yes and then a no?
Yes.
I think the same thing. I think it will be a yes and then a very quick no, and he will declare victory.
All journalists scored a point on that one. The next question was whether there would be a recession in 2025.
No, I don't think so, unless, the caveat being, unless his general tariff goes into effect and in a long-term way. But inflation seems to be holding. I do not think we will have a recession.
I don't think so. The stock market has already reacted to his election, all of his promises. I think that the folks who buy and sell stocks have said, yeah, well, we're fine. I'd even predict that we're going to reach another Dow record.
Yay or nay, recession?
I don't think so, no.
Again, the journalists all scored on that one. There has been no recession officially declared. Our panelists then speculated on whether Trump would pardon January 6 insurrectionists.
Oh, I think definitely. I think that's going to happen very quickly once he's inaugurated.
What do you think?
Yes, I think that he's going to have to separate out those when you've got video images of certain people beating police officers, using weapons, using tear gas, I think he'd be hard-pressed to say those are innocent victims here. But I think, like Jeremy does, I think that he's going to take 75% of them.
75%. I was going to say,
The lion's share of them will be quickly pardoned, I believe. But like you, and I would certainly hope that those who have been beaten police officers over the head would not get a pardon.
President Trump went even further than our journalists thought, wasting no time in granting pardons to all January 6 participants who are in jail or awaiting trial. We give them all a point on that one. The next question was whether the Trump administration will indict a news organization.
No, I don't believe that they will. I think instead there will be the continued unending day-to-day demonization of reporters and news organizations. I think there will probably be civil lawsuits against them. We've already started to see that. And I think they may unravel some policies having to do with protection of anonymous sources, but I would not expect to see a criminal conviction.
And that's the problem. I don't think you can do criminal convictions. I mean, the burden of proof, yes. The old saying is a prosecutor could indict a hamburger. And I don't doubt that that's true. But I think there are enough professionals there, even with some of Trump's people at the top, to say, no, we don't want to go down this path because we're going to end up getting slapped by the Supreme Court.
I think no indictments. I think we'll see investigations, threats, probably civil lawsuits like Lori said, but I don't think indictments.
No news organizations have been indicted. All three panelists guessed that one correctly. Up next, will state lawmakers put any restrictions on ESAs, vouchers for parents to pay for private schools?
No, not a chance.
Not a chance.
Governor Hobbs will talk about it a lot. The Democrats will talk about it a lot. Won't happen.
No way, no how?
I think they will nibble on the edges in terms of saying we need some accountability, perhaps some auditing, perhaps add more staff to Tom Horne's staff to go ahead and audit. But beyond that, cutting back, not going to happen.
I think that they may add some staff to audit. Clearly, Tom Horne needs some help, given all of these fake children that we're paying to educate. But if they do anything definitive, it will be mostly to raise the amount of money that you can get out of an ESA.
Jeremy and Howie got a point on that one, with Lori getting half a point. Lawmakers did not take any action on ESAs, although there were some administrative changes through the State Board of Education. Ted then asked the panelists if lawmakers would pass any election reform bills.
I think it'll be one of the first bills that they pass and send to Governor Hobbs, and I think it'll be one of the first vetoes that she sends right back to them, and then it will be sent to the ballot for 2026.
Wow. What do you think, Howie?
I don't know if it's even going to get sent to the ballot. I think what's going to happen is after she vetoes that, I think she's going to be under a lot of pressure, because there are a lot of people from her own party who say, look, we have become the quote-unquote laughing stock, that we're sitting here 2 weeks out and trying to figure out how we're doing it. I think she's willing to compromise in some areas in terms of if we extend early voting up till voting day and then allow for some liberal form of dropping off ballots, perhaps with ID. I think she will compromise.
I don't think she's going to compromise on that. I think she's already kind of drawn that line in the sand. I think they'll send it to her, she'll veto it, and then they're going to send it to the ballot.
State lawmakers did pass an election reform bill, and it was vetoed by the governor. We give each journalist 1 point for their guess, but it did not go to the ballot. Ted's next question was how many bills were going to get Governor Hobbs' veto stamp.
I'm going to say 105. And
105.
Not as many as in her first term, more than last year. They have slightly larger majorities in both chambers. You have new folks who are going to want to kind of push the envelope and make her veto stuff. So it's going to be more than last year.
So the downward trend is adios.
Right. It's going to go
I think
down,
we're going to be less. I think it's going to be down to in the 75 range, because I think, and we'll talk about this in my long shot, I think that things are going to get screwed up in the House by themselves, and they're going to have problems sending stuff to her.
Give me a number, Lori.
I think it's going to be about 92. We had 143 the first year, 73 the second year. I'm going to split the difference, kind of go with 92 for the reasons that Jeremy said.
There could only be one winner or a tie on this one. The governor vetoed 178 bills, so Jeremy's guess was the closest, so he gets the point. The next question was whether Governor Hobbs will sign any bills that she has vetoed before.
Well, let's see. We've taken care of the tamales, so I would say no, because why give it doesn't do her any good with the Republicans or with constituents, and it just gives the Republicans a chance to paint her as wishy-washy.
What do you think, Howie?
Other than the issue where I think she's going to agree to a compromise on the bill she vetoed about election deadlines, I don't see her coming back and saying, oh, no, I was wrong. And this isn't even an election year.
I don't think so. Most of the stuff she vetoes is very partisan stuff that's sent up there to get vetoed. I think she'll probably find something she can say that she's compromised on. You know, got an election year coming up for her in 26.
All three guessed correctly. Governor Hobbs did not sign any bills she had vetoed before. The next topic, when will the legislative session end?
I think it's going to take a while. I'm going to say June 25th.
Howie?
August 15th.
Lori?
August, oh my goodness. June 30th.
Jeremy got the closest, so he gets a point. Lawmakers ended their session on June 27th. Ted asked how many Republicans will be running for governor.
By this time next year, I'd say 4.
What do you think? Lori, we'll go with you. How many Republicans will announce for governor?
I was going to say 5, and it's only mostly because they're auditioning for lieutenant governor.
Interesting. Okay, so basically shoot for the stars, land on the moon.
She took my answer. I was going to say 5 because you'd have at least a couple who are angling to get that running mate spot now that we have that.
As of this taping, there were 3 candidates running for governor as a Republican, so Howie gets the point for that one. Ted then asked, will any Democrat besides Katie Hobbs run for governor?
I think no one besides Hobbs. There may be a token opposition, someone who we're not really going to pay much attention. But in terms of serious challengers, I don't think so, no.
What do you think, Howie?
I don't think so. I think that you could find anybody who get the signatures and put your name on the ticket. The only caveat is that if, as much as Adrian Fontes has said, I'm not going to run, we get to November of next year, and all of a sudden Katie is floundering somewhere. He's going to see. I feel a draft. I'm telling you.
We don't like caveats there. Is it yes or nay for Democrats?
None,
No.
really.
Okay, what do you think?
No other major candidate other than Hobbs.
All 3 got that one right. Our next question, how many Republicans will run for state attorney general?
30? No. I'd say 5. They want this job back. I think that they'll ultimately winnow that down. But in terms of getting out there and exploring, I'd say 5.
What do you think, Howie?
I think it's going to be closer to 7, and a lot of it depends on whether Andrew Gould, who tried last time, gets the job as U.S. attorney.
Okay, we got a 3 and we got a 7. Where are you, Jeremy?
I'm going to say 3. I think we already have the 2 with Peterson and Glassman, and I think we'll probably get one more serious candidate in there, and I think everyone else is going to say there's not really room for any more.
Only 2 candidates have said they will run, so Jeremy gets a score on that one. Next up, what will former Senator Kyrsten Sinema be doing after she leaves office?
Probably either lobbying, interest group, something along those lines, something where she'll still have some influence in D.C., but obviously out of the elected game.
In D.C., not in Arizona.
I think in D.C., yeah.
Howie?
I like that answer. I mean, it's not like she's going to be a Carrie Lake and be in charge of some Voice of America or something.
Well, you never know. Lori, what do you think?
No, I think Democrats despise her. Republicans have no more use for her. I think that she could well end up to be the spokesmodel for Uggs, boots. Or, barring that, she'll wind up on a cushy corporate board.
Among her other ventures, Sinema is a lobbyist for a Washington, D.C.-based law firm. She is also a member of cryptocurrency exchange Coinbase's advisory council and also works with the AI Infrastructure Coalition, a group that advocates for AI development, so we award points to all 3. Next, will the Suns go into the playoffs?
Yes, I think that they will. I want to say they'll go all the way, baby, but it's just such a health issue. I'm going to say second round.
First round, like
First
last
round? All right, what do you think, Jeremy?
Second round if Durant's healthy, first round if not.
They all missed the rim on that one as the Suns had a disappointing season and did not make the playoffs. Did the Diamondbacks make the playoffs?
I don't think so. I think they'll get close, but I think we're starting to see that they might be losing some folks, some key players. So I think grudgingly no.
I'll give them a wild card slot.
I think that they will not make the playoffs. I think that, it used to be the Dodgers were in our pool. Now they're in our way. So
Okay.
no, they won't make it.
All 3 had a hit on that question. The D-backs did not make the playoffs. And as always, the journalists ended the show with their sure shot, long shot predictions.
Sure shot. Next Supreme Court Justice Maria Elena Cruz. She's a Court of Appeals judge, Democrat. Be the first black on the Supreme Court, first Hispanic woman on the Supreme Court. Long shot, there's going to be a rebellion among House Republicans. Steve Montenegro is not liked by the conservatives, and there's going to come a point during the session where things are going to blow up.
Howie's sure shot was correct as Maria Elena Cruz was sworn onto the Arizona Supreme Court. And we give Howie a point because there was some friction with House Speaker Steve Montenegro.
So for my sure shot, I'm going to say that a deal will be struck early in the year on state land trust funding for schools in time for the spring ballot. My long shot is going to be that there will be chatter at least or an outright push by the Trump administration to jail Katie Hobbs.
Lori missed her sure shot as there was not a final deal on state land trust funding made for schools, but we give her a point for her long shot, as immigration czar Tom Homan did talk about arresting Hobbs if she interfered with immigration enforcement.
Sure shot. I think Attorney General Chris Mays will initiate at least one lawsuit against the Trump administration. She'll probably sign on to others with other Democratic governors and AGs. She'll initiate at least one. Long shot. Arizona gets a professional hockey team again next year.
Jeremy got his sure shot as Arizona Attorney General Chris Mays did initiate a lawsuit against the Trump administration, but he missed the net on his long shot as Arizona did not get a professional hockey team. Howie eked out a win with 14.5 points. Jeremy was second with 14 points, and Lori coming in third with 11.5 points.
So there you go. Howie gets the win. Big congratulations. We're all
I'm
just thrilled for
awaiting
you.
my prize.
Yeah, keep waiting. Our best to Lori Roberts, who recently retired from the Arizona Republic. And we welcome our newest panelist, Cameron Sanchez from KJZZ Radio. And let's get things started. And Cameron, we're going to start with you. It kind of goes quickly here, so let's get it going here. Who wins the Republican primary for governor? Who wins the general election?
Okay, for the primary, I am going to say perhaps Andy Biggs. And for the general, I'm going to say perhaps Andy Biggs again.
So you see a big sweep, huh?
A big sweepstakes.
Yes, okay, in more ways, yeah. All right, Jeremy, what do you got?
I think Biggs in the primary is the only candidate I can see who has a real strong base of support. And in the general, I think the kind of pro-democratic climate that people are expecting is probably going to carry Katie Hobbs to a narrow victory in a re-election.
Interesting. Howie?
I don't think so. I think she's going to be the first incumbent in 60 years to not get a second term. This goes back to Sam Goddard. I think that she doesn't inspire. She's sort of all over the place. She's annoyed people with things like Axon and the stadium and those sort of things. She made a little publicity by giving away COVID money. It seems to be, the loaves and fishes. She's always finding money, but that money's going to be gone. So I think she's history.
Okay, but who wins the Republican primary?
Oh, I'm sorry. Andy Biggs wins the primary because the fact, look, Karen burns the money like crazy. Schweikert is an interesting moderate, but again, this is a Republican primary, number one. And number two, if you've seen his ads so far, it's all about, I'm going to crack down on immigration. That's not the issue. It's the economy.
All right, Jeremy, we're going to start with you on this one. The Republican primary for Attorney General. Who wins?
That's tough. I think because we very well may see a Trump endorsement here, and if we do, that's going to count for a lot. Without that, I'm leaning towards Peterson, but I think it's hard to say. I think Glassman could win, but I'm kind of leaning towards Peterson.
Howie, what do you got?
I think it's going to be Warren Peterson, although we have to say if he'll stay as president of the Senate or will go out on the road. But he's got the name ID. Rodney Glassman is a former Democrat. I don't think he's trusted. And then we've got a newbie who has no name ID, probably a lot of money, but I'd say Peterson gets the edge just based on name ID.
What do you think, Cameron?
Strongly agree with Peterson for those reasons. And also he has Turning Point support seemingly in some ways. He's got that platform. And he's been Senate president, so he's had a high profile recently with those political folks.
All right, who wins the general?
Okay, I'm going to say Chris Mays, perhaps?
So Chris Mays holds on against Peterson.
Perhaps.
Perhaps. All right.
Perhaps. And I'm saying that partly because she's been so active and unavoidable. You can't say her name recognition hasn't gone up. And also she's been trying really hard to recruit moderates and even Republicans in rural Arizona. And I wonder if that'll pay off for her.
What do you think, Howie?
I think it's going to be Mays, despite her landslide 280 vote win last time around. I think that the fact that she is going after the Trump administration, Trump's star, I think, is falling among the general public. They're tired of his edicts. They're tired of his order. And they're probably just saying, yeah, you go after him.
Jeremy.
I think it's going to be the Republican nominee, which, like I said, leading towards Peterson. But I think as much as Trump's star has fallen, I think the extent to which Mays has made herself the face of the opposition is not going to play super well in a red-leaning purple state like Arizona.
Interesting. Howie, the general election for Secretary of State. What you got?
That's a harder one. I mean, Adrian Fontes has the benefit of incumbency. He, too, a little like Mays, has been unavoidable for comment. Alexander Kolodin has the backing of, the Turning Point type folks. But I think that people are going to look at him and say, wait a second, aren't you the guy who wants to screw up with our early voting and everything else? I don't know that he comes across as well. I think he comes across as a little strident. And so I'd say Fontes takes the race.
What say you, Cameron?
I say that Fontes wins the general election, and I think he wins it against Culloden, who wins in the Republican primary. And I'm going to stop agreeing with Howie at some point.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. What do you think, Jeremy?
Agreed. I think it's going to be Fontes in the general election. I think he will be running against Culloden, but I think we will see an opponent, someone recruit an opponent for him in the primary. I think there's enough folks who are worried about how he's going to perform against Fontes in the general.
Interesting. All right, Superintendent of Public Instruction, Republican. I'm not sure who's definitely running for Democrat. So Republican and general, we'll fold them into one. What do you see?
I think it's going to Yee sweep. I think it's going to be Yee versus Horn, and Yee's going to win, and then she's going to go on to take it.
Really? Okay, so you see Yee beating Horn, the incumbent.
I can see it happening. Yeah, I can see it happening because those primaries tend to go to the further right or further left, and she has the backing of the further right, seemingly.
What do you think, Jeremy?
I think Horn's going to pull through. I think the issues that prompted Yee's primary challenge are not things that a lot of primary voters are really. They're not going to get that deep into the weeds. It's all about ESA stuff. And Horn, for the most part, he's been a champion for ESA. As people, I think people, if that's your issue, most of them are going to stick with him.
I have to agree with my colleague here. I know we have to stop it, but I think that Horn is not trusted by a lot of folks. The ESA folks, despite the fact he's been defending ESAs, don't trust him. I think that he's made a lot of enemies on some of the other issues, like English and such. And I think that she wins the general election also.
Let's move to Congress. Democratic primary for Congressional District 1. Howie, what do you got?
Well, I think Amish Shah, only because of the fact that he came within 20,000 votes of Schweikert last time. And so he's got the name ID. He can say, look, nominate me because I nearly knocked off this multi-term incumbent. So I say Shah has the lead on that.
Democrats, Jeremy.
I think probably Shah again. I'm going to agree with that. He won it last time. He's a very determined campaigner, so I think he's going to pull through again.
All right, Cameron.
I was going to say Shah as well for the same reasons, and he loves to tout his door-knocking abilities and how many people he reaches in that district. So I think at least in the primary, I could see him doing well again.
What do you see the Republican primary looking at?
Well, we know now that Chaplik is in the race, which seems like a big deal, and there's rumors about other people who might jump in, but I actually am just going to say maybe Gina Swoboda.
Do you think Gina Swoboda will hold on?
I think so.
What do you think, Howie?
Finally, I'm going to get to disagree with you.
Okay.
I think that Chaplik, with all that Turning Point money, all that right-wing support, is there. Gina is probably, in many ways, he's going to hate me for saying it, a better qualified candidate, truly understanding politics, truly understanding the party. But I think that because of the fact that she didn't come out and say all these elections are rigged, a lot of the GOP voters are not going to support her.
I think probably Swoboda. I think she has Trump's backing. Again, as Cameron mentioned, we could see another candidate in there. We could see. I think there's a pretty good chance Jay Feely makes that jump from 5, but I think it's probably going to be Gina Swoboda.
Who wins the general?
I think in this year with this climate, I think we're probably looking at Amish Shah.
You think Amish Shah's going to win?
Second time, I think is going to be a charm for him.
Interesting, Cameron.
I'm going to say Swoboda just to be contrary.
Well, that's not the way it works.
Well, I think it's true.
You think Swoboda's going to win?
Yeah.
All right, Howie.
I'm going to think that Chaplik is going to win it. I mean, as much as there may be the quote-unquote Democratic wave, I'm not sure that this is the district for it.
All right. Just give me a yay or a nay. Howie, we'll start with you. Will any congressional incumbents lose their seats?
Possibly Ciscomani. I'd say he's the most vulnerable.
Okay. Do you think he's going to lose it?
I think he's going to lose it. I think Joanne Mendoza has raised a lot of money, although he's got a lot of money in the bank.
Jeremy?
I think probably Ciscomani.
Ciscomani too, huh?
I think he'll hold on, so I'm going to say no.
So no. Okay. All incumbents will hold on. All right. Regarding the election, Cameron, we'll start with you. Will any Arizona county balk at certifying election results?
I'm going to say yes, but I think they will ultimately certify all of them.
So a yes, but they'll turn around eventually.
Yes, they'll complain about it. There might be a lawsuit, but eventually we'll get them all certified.
Howie?
I think that's true. After what happened with Chris Mays hauling the co-chief supervisor to court and charging 2 of them criminally, I don't think any supervisor, whether there or over in Mojave, which is the other county full of people who are election deniers, I think they're just going to have to go along.
What do you think, Jeremy?
Make it unanimous. I think depending on how the election turns out, there's going to be a lot of complaining, but everyone saw what happened in Cochise County, and no one's going to actually refuse to certify anything.
All right, Jeremy, will President Trump visit Arizona to campaign in the state for candidates?
I think so. I mean, he loves his rallies. He loves those events. No reason not to. I think he absolutely will.
I think, Howie.
Oh, it'll be everywhere. I mean, it's going to be all Trump all the time. I mean, he's got some other battleground states he needs to see, but I think that this is going to be a place, I'd say, that between this show airing and the general election, I'd say 10 times.
10 times. Cameron?
I'll say yes, but once, if
Yes,
that
but once.
matters.
All right, let's get to the Arizona legislature here. Cameron, will the Republicans keep control of the legislature?
I'm going to say yes, but I think they'll have narrower majorities.
Kind of got numbers there?
I think they'll keep a one up on each chamber.
What do you think, Howie?
I think it's pretty much the same thing. I think that there's a quote-unquote blue wave, but I think people like their own legislators. You know, we've seen some back and forth. The House hasn't been in Republican hands, Democratic hands since like 1964, so I don't know if that's going to change. I think the Senate could go 16-14, but that's about it.
Yeah, I think Democrats will pick up a couple of seats here and there, but I think Republicans will hold on to both chambers.
Sine die, got a date?
I'm going to say May 20th.
May
It's an election year. You know, they're going to go for a while because they got to fight with Hobbs about stuff, but it's an election year, so everyone wants to get out and campaign.
Okay, what do you got, Cameron? Give me a date.
June 15th.
June 15th.
Yes.
I was going to go closer to June 7th only because of this new July primary there that they've got to get out and get on the road.
And Howie, how many vetoes from the governor?
Well, I'd say let's take last year's number and add at least one to it. So I'd say 175 vetoes. They're going to send her all sorts of stuff to try to show look how much of an obstructionist she is.
By the same logic, I'm going to go and say 200.
200.
Let's go big.
Okay.
I think we're going to see less than last year's because I think it's going to be a shorter session, so I'm going to say 125.
All right.
Is this like The Price is Right? Is it without going over?
Yeah. It's the price is right or the veto is right. All right. Relatively quickly now, we have our sure shot and our long shot predictions. Howie, we'll start with you.
I think there'll be I don't know which is sure and not. I don't think we will see a trial for the fake electors in 2026, if ever. I think that Katie Hobbs will select a Hispanic male as her running mate, maybe even Oscar de los Santos. And finally, if Biggs is the nominee, she won't debate him.
Okay, are those sure shots?
Hard to know what's a sure shot in Arizona politics. I don't know that
Okay.
I've got a long shot. I think the long shot may have to do with who she selects as a running mate.
We need a sure shot and we need a long shot.
Sure shot, I think all the talk we hear about the federal government forcing a Colorado River resolution on the states isn't going to happen. I think they're going to reach something on their own because nobody really wants to roll the dice, and the feds don't really want to do that anyway.
Okay, long shot?
Long shot, I'm going to say that Katie Hobbs does an about face on restricting early ballot drop-offs on election days just out of wanting to foreclose something that she thinks is worse from getting passed at the ballot.
All right, wrap it up. Sure shot, long shot.
Sure shot, ESAs aren't going anywhere, even though Hobbs says this is the year where she's going to make a dent in them, but they're actually going to not be changed at all. And long shot, an Arizona Independent Party candidate is going to come out of the woodwork and win the whole damn thing for governor.
Oh, my goodness, that's the way to play. Thanks so much for joining us, panel. Great show, and we'll look forward to seeing you next year. That's it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great evening.